What is up, cool kids? I'm Cool Trainer Gavin, and last night, if you missed it, was the draft of the GPL Generations Pokemon League over on Joe Schmo Gaming's channel. His link, as well as the link to everyone else in the league. Their description, not the description. Their links will be down in the description below. But in this video, I want to take some time and talk about my team, which is on the screen as I speak to you, and why I kind of thought I would like to use some of these Pokemon. So without much further ado, that's not a saying. Without much further ado, let's get into it. So my first pick was, and some of the orders might be incorrect as for when things were drafted in their tier. The way we drafted were 3 OU picks, 3 UU picks, 3 NU picks, no, 3 RU picks, and 3 NU picks. So 3 in the top 4 main tiers, not including Ubers or Borderline. So for instance, I think that I picked Hawlucha second and then Heatran, but I'm not positive. But I know my number 1 pick was Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu I think is not necessarily the best of the 4 Tapus in draft format, but I think it's the easiest to build around, and that's something that I definitely really highly valued, because its ability provides such great, synergy for a lot of other things to play off of. Specifically, Heatran and Hawlucha, 2 other things that I knew that I wanted. If I had gotten just one of them, I would have been perfectly happy, but I got both of them, so I'm really, really happy. Grassy Surge halves Heatran's weakness to Earthquake anyway, not Earth Power sadly, but at least Earthquake. But Heatran and Bulu cover each other extremely well. Everything that one is weak to, the other one is either immune to or resists. So really great synergy, as well as Hawlucha being a great setup sweeper with Grassy Seed and Grassy Terrain. Without our item, and at +1 defense, potentially +2 attack with a Swords Dance, Acrobatics is going to hurt, High Jump Kick is going to hurt, so there's not a ton that can really take on Hawlucha really comfortably once it is set up. Heatran, great special attack stat, really solid defenses at 91, 106, 106. Not great speed, but a very solid lead Pokemon, very solid, toxic trap Pokemon with Magma Storm, sub-toxic, stealth rock, a lot of different sets you can run on Heatran, and it's one of the most versatile Pokemon in the game in my opinion. And then Tapu Bulu, incredible physical monster between really great attack stat, really high powered stat moves, and Grassy Terrain. I was going to say only one. Probably 2 downsides to Tapu Bulu is that its speed's not great, and Grass Stab... Actually, so 3. Grass Stab isn't, amazing as an offensive type. But when you nuke things, it's not that much of a big deal. But it also doesn't get physical Fairy Stab, which kind of stinks. But I mean, I've used Bulu before, and I've ran Special Bulu, which was kind of fun. Yeah, so that's OU. I think not a ton to say. These 3 together just make for a really scary core in Grassy Surge. So I think Mega Absol was my first pick, but we'll talk about just all 3 of them together. Mantine really finished out the Firewater Grass core with Bulu and Heatran quite well. All quite bulky, not super fast. I think Heatran is the fastest one of them, 77. So they all are quite slow, but also quite bulky. With Bulu more offense, Heatran being more balanced, and Mantine being more defensive. But any of them can also kind of switch around roles, because Mantine can actually be a quite usable special attacker. Base 80 special attack is pretty usable. Not great, but also not terrible. 70 speed isn't too bad for a bulky Pokemon, plus it does get access to Tailwind. So that's pretty interesting as well. Water Absorb and being a flying type make it immune to Heatran's 2 biggest weaknesses, as well as being resistant to its last weakness. I think that it is only weak to water, ground, and fighting. So Mantine and Heatran work very well together. Mantine is also quite a good defogger. Although it is weak to Stealth Rock, it's immune to Spikes and Toxic Spikes, and with Roost, which it got in Gen 7, it's very, very usable as a defogger. As well as I think they buffed its HP and defense stats as well. Mega Absol is, in my opinion, one of the best Megas in draft format, because looking at its stats, there's not much it can't do offensively. You want to run it full physical, it's a monster. You want to run it mixed or special, it's obviously physical, it's going to hit a lot harder than special, but mixed sets are very easy to do with Mega Absol because it does get a lot of really interesting coverage, like Fire Blast, like it gets Thunder. I don't think it gets Blizzard, but I think it might get Ice Beam. Yeah, it does get Ice Beam. No Blizzard, but Thunderbolt. Okay, it's not Thunder, but Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. A lot of weird options like Will-O-Wisp, Thunder Wave, Play Rough, Quick Attack. Just a lot of moves that suit its playstyle. Magic Bounce is also a great ability to have. Very good at deterring hazards and also even setting up hazards for yourself as well. Not too much to say about Mega Absol. It's very, very frail. So proper support, such as hazard removal and maybe wish support as well, is going to be very, very valuable. My last UU pick was Mamoswine. Shout out to my boy Joey with Mamoswine at the top. Mamoswine's going to get to the top in OU, I believe. Personal opinion, I love Mamoswine. I believe it's only got one resistance when it doesn't have thick fat. I want to say, what is it? I don't think it has any resistance, actually. I think it's just immune to electric. But with thick fat, it does make it immune to ice and gets rid of its fire type weakness. Very good physical attacker with base 130 attack. Okay speed tier at base 80. Makes it a pretty good Scarfer. Base 110 HP, very, very usable. And 80 defense with 110 HP is also quite usable. Its special stats kind of let it down, but Mamoswine's really not there to take a hit. It's there to hit things quite hard. With Stab Ice Shard. Earthquake is a little counterproductive with Bulu. I'm going to have to play these two very carefully with each other. Icicle Crash, very powerful move. It gets a lot of very useful moves, just like Absol moves that fit its playstyle. Oh, excuse me. It's just midnight. I literally just finished the draft when I'm filming. But moves like Superpower, Stone Edge, Knockoff, very good moves for what it does, which is hit things really hard on the physical side. It's also a fairly decent Stealth Rock setter if you lead it with Sash or even a Life Orb, because it will usually live one hit, and then you're almost guaranteed to get rocks up with it. So that consists my OU and UU picks, and overall, so far, I'm quite happy with them. Mamoswine is kind of the one outlier for me, considering that I do already have a huge amount of physical power on the team with Mega Absol, Hawlucha, and Tapu Bulu. Mamoswine, I kind of just picked it because at this point I wanted something that would be an electric immunity for Mantine and Hawlucha. Because at this point, obviously, I had not yet drafted Donphan, and the way we drafted was we did a snake draft. So we randomized the order at the beginning of OU. So we went through and drafted for our first 6 picks. Then we re-randomized between UU and RU. So I had second overall pick in these 2 rounds. So I knew that I wanted Donphan, but I didn't know where I was going to get placed, and I knew some people had their eyes on it as well. So I knew that I wanted a guaranteed solid ground type for to cover Mantine. So even though I had second pick up here, when I got randomized, I had first pick for the last bit, which was kind of a blessing and a curse, because it meant that I picked first in this round, but last in this round. So I was biting my nails the entire time, and even though I knew I wanted Donphan, I thought to myself, I already have my ground type. Let's pick the best Pokemon available, and in my opinion, it wasn't Necrozma. Necrozma, it blows my mind, other than the fact that it's got base 79 speed, that it is RU, because its moves and stats are incredible. Its attack stats are quite good, with 107 and 127 respectively, and its defensive stats are not too bad either, with 97, 101, and 89. Especially when you take Prism Armor into effect, where it decreases damage from super effective moves. So really, really helpful. Great Stealth Rock setter. Something that's very important for me is hazard control. So if you noticed, even just so far in the draft with 7 picks, I've got 3 Stealth Rock setters, 2 potential defoggers. Hawlucha's not great at it, but 2 potential defoggers and a magic bouncer. So everything short of Bulu helps us control hazards on this team. Including Necrozma, which is a very solid Stealth Rock user. It's a quite good setup sweeper with a Totemize. It gets Calm Mind, it gets Swords Dance. You can run it physical or special. Extremely spammable stab move in Photon Geyser, which is stab, base 100, 100% accurate. And it always goes by your highest attack stat. So it's very reliable in that I can run it on a physical Necrozma or a special Necrozma, and it'll be incredibly useful either way. Excuse me, I keep burping. Weird. It gets very good coverage options on the physical and special side with Power Gem, Stone Edge. It gets stored power for Calm Minds, X-Scissor, Trick Room, Signal Beam, Shadow Claw. I believe it gets Shadow Ball as well. Am I wrong? I am wrong. Huh. Gets Recovery in Moonlight and Morning Sun. It gets Knockoff, Iron Head, Heat Wave. A lot of really good options with Necrozma. So, in my opinion, it was the best Pokemon available at the time, so I picked it, and I'm not sorry about it whatsoever. When it did get back to me, Donphan was still available, and I knew that I wanted Donphan from the absolute beginning. So I picked Donphan because it is another hazard setter, as well as being a hazard removal with hazard remover with Rapisoon, which is something that I did not have yet. In addition to getting, as well as quite a few of the other Pokemon on my team, some interesting coverage options with Gunk Shot, Gyro Ball, Ice Shard is great priority, Knockoff, Play Rough, Seed Bomb, even Rock Polish, if I wanted to run that. Most likely not because it's base 50 speed, but base 90 and 120 for physical bulk is great, and 120 physical attack is also very, very good. So Donphan's going to make a great addition to the team, in my opinion. And here is the first real time that I got sniped. I mean, I sort of got sniped in UU because I originally had wanted Gliss. I don't know why my roommates need to slam doors. I think I originally had wanted Gliscor, but I think Mantine works out a little bit better. But right here, I realized that I did not have a Ghost Resist, and there were, I think, 2 very powerful Ghost types that have been drafted in Chandelure and Gengar. So I knew that I needed a Ghost Resist, and I think the pick right before me, or maybe 2 picks before me, Umbreon got taken, and I was really sad because that was what I decided I wanted, because it was good Wish support, Heal Bell, Pursuiter, Baton Pass if I wanted to go that route. But it did get taken, unfortunately. So I scrambled, looking through Showdown, looking for what to get. And I set it on Florges, because Florges is a Pokemon that I've not used a lot, like pretty much ever. I don't know that I've ever actually used it on a team. So it was something that I was kind of interested in. And it has all the necessary requirements that I wanted. It gets Aromatherapy and Heal Bell. It has decent coverage options in Psychic. I think it gets Leaf Storm, but I'm not positive. At least it gets Energy Ball. But yeah, he gets, you know, Cleric and Wish. Substitute, Synthesis, Reliable Recovery outside of Wish if I don't want to run a Wish Passer. Good Stab with Moonblast. And something that Umbreon didn't give us, which is more Hazard Control with Defog. So really great pickup, in my opinion, to have to kind of adapt to the situation as the draft unfolded. Great special bulk. And, you know, I have Donphan for my physical bulk, but Florges is insane with special bulk without even being invested. Base 154 is huge, even considering sort of a measly, not great base 78 attack stat. Or HP stat, rather. And 112 special attack isn't anything to sneeze at either. So if I wanted to run it, Calm Mind, I could easily do that too. The only thing that kind of lets Florges down is its lack of a great ability. So obviously Flower Veil doesn't do any, actually neither of its abilities do anything in singles. So that kind of sucks. But overall, Hazard Removal, Wish Pass, Heal Bell, that's all I want in a Pokemon, and Florges does that for me in spades. So these ones I know are a little bit out of order. So I drafted Heliolisk first because I was like, well, I need to get something as a Ghost type switch in. Otherwise, Necrozma is going to be toast. So I got Heliolisk, knocked out a couple birds with one stone, because I don't have an electric type up to this point either. Heliolisk is interesting because it gets U-turn, so I don't have to rely on Volt Switch to switch out of a ground type or something. And base 109 special attack and speed are quite good. Makes it one of the faster members of this team. This team is actually quite slow for me, which is going to be a little weird to adapt to. But it's got two very good stab options in Hyper Voice and Thunderbolt. Three really good abilities, because a couple of weather options were drafted. So Sandvale, I think Hippowdon got drafted, so I can run that. Solar Power, Torkoal got drafted, so I can run this. And Dry Skin, no Rain was drafted, but this gives us another water immunity, which is really nice, considering that Heatran, Mamoswine, and Donphan are all weak to it. As for moves, it's really interesting because it does a lot of things that electric types don't normally do. So like, you know, you think electric type, you think you're going to get paralyzed with an electric move, but no, it gets a Glare, which is the best paralyzing move in the game, because it doesn't miss and it can hit ground types. It gets priority, you know, stab from a really bad attack stat, but nonetheless, you know, sturdy Pokemon, it'll pick them off. It gets Surf, which is pretty cool, Signal Beam, U-turn, like I said earlier. Hyper Voice is great stab. Grass Knot, you know, it's nothing crazy. Dark Pulse, you know, it's an Enumon for a reason, but I think it's a pretty valuable Enumon in my opinion. So I picked Garbodor because I didn't have a grounded poison type to get rid of poison spikes yet, or toxic spikes. So I went with Garbodor because I've seen it used to pretty decent success in other leagues. Its stats aren't, you know, super anything to be really impressed by, but it does its job fairly well. It's reasonably bulky if invested correctly with 80 HP and then 82 defenses. It hits fairly hard for a Pokemon with 95 attack, and it's actually quite fast for a Pokemon with 75 speed. It gets spikes, toxic spikes, gets clear smog and haze to prevent being set up on. It's a lot of interesting moves like explosion, like I said, spikes and toxic spikes. It gets Thunderbolt, Stomping Tantrum. Like I saw Giga Drain. Its special attack is quite bad, so I probably won't be using that often. But yeah, just in general, just a pretty decent utility mon for the tier in general. Last but not least, my last pick, but probably my favorite pick if I'm being honest, Gourgeist. And that is because you can use any of Gourgeist's forms. So going into it, my opponent will have no idea whether my Gorgeist has 54 speed or 99 speed. So that gives Gorgeist, I think, a pretty big advantage, where I can run it, you know, I might even be able to run it choice banded with 99 speed, because it makes it one of the faster members of the team, and hit fairly hard. Or I can run it full bulk as a physical wall with 85 HP and 122 defense. That is also a pretty solid set. Looking at its moves, it gets a lot of really decent support options like Disable, Destiny Bond, Will-O-Wisp, Magic Coat, Leech Seed, Trick or Treat, Trick Room. I had to ask before I picked this for sure, but I had to make sure that Omni Boosting Z moves were banned, because Z Trick or Treat gives you a +1 everything. But unfortunately, they are banned. Gorgeist is just annoying to play against because it's bulky, it gets Synthesis, it gets Leech Seed, it burns things. But yeah, I think just a great budget pick because it is very versatile, and you never know which Gorgeist the opponent's going to bring. So it could be literally any of these at any given time. They know once you get to Team Preview, I'm pretty sure. But as for prep, they need to prepare that this thing could be base 99 speed. Now, about my draft overall, I would say, like I mentioned this earlier, I would have liked to be a little bit faster. My fastest Pokemon is Hawlucha, followed by Mega Absol, but not until Mega evolves, so that kind of sucks. And then Heliolisk at 109, and then Gorgeist at 99. So if Gorgeist is your, you know, one of your fastest Pokemon, that's a little bit of a problem. That usually means that faster Pokemon such as Crobat and Tapu Koko can afford to run attack boosting natures like Modest or Adamant as opposed to Jolly or Timid to boost their speed. It makes them hit harder, so it makes it a little bit more of a problem. But this team is fairly fat, and I think it will be really hard to break through with just things like Heatran and Bulu, Mantine, Donphan, Florges. So very hard team to break through in my opinion. But week 1 will be starting on Sunday. Team Builder will be up Saturday. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully we can make a couple wins. We can get a couple wins this season. We didn't do so hot in the last draft league we were in, but that's in the past now. We're over it. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video as much as I did, please like and or subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch at CoolTrainerGav. And until next time, smile later.